up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, my man? So today we're going to be talking about skid plate systems underneath Jeeps. A lot of people don't get under their Jeeps. They don't know how much vital parts there are under here and how limited the skid plate systems are under these Jeeps. This is the newer JL. Just to go over some of the skid plate system, you can see that the oil and transmission are just pretty much wide open to any kind of rock damage, tree damage, anything that can flop up here can damage these very, very vital parts. And the bad part is when these get damaged, a lot of people don't know until it's too late. You can see the transfer case has this very small, tiny skid plate. The reason Jeep does this, because I've had people ask before, is weight savings. To keep, so you can get good fuel mileage, but it's a Jeep, so you're not going to get good fuel mileage anyways. But so that's why they do such a limited amount of skid plating. But once again, you can see the transfer case here is pretty much almost unprotected. So if you got a good rock in here or something like that, you could potentially damage it, and well, that's going to cost a lot more money than a skid plate system. Talking about the skid plate on a fuel tank, you can see that it is literally non-existent. It's a very thin piece of metal. The first time you hit a rock on it or a tree or anything, it's going to start bending up into the fuel tank, potentially causing damage of the fuel tank, and definitely a bad reading on your fuel gauge.
Oh yeah, because these are plastic. I mean,
yeah, right, as soon as this bends up, it gets right into the fuel tank.
Yeah, gotcha.
And as you're driving, it'll start rubbing, and we've actually seen this once where it actually rubbed a hole in the fuel tank itself.
Oh, because you had like the metal skid plate touching the plastic and just the vibration.
And it was like where they had hit it, it was on a seam, so the seam was just sitting there rubbing on the plastic, and it actually cut a hole in it. Also, something else we wanted to talk about in this video is the exhaust. Now, most of the skid plating from like a Metalcloak will cover almost all your exhaust, but here on the back, as you can see, it kind of sits down here low, and the biggest part is on the rear. That's where they stick the muffler at on these. Anytime you're coming off a rock, anytime that the rear's dropping down, this is just gonna get destroyed. These mufflers I see consistently smashed, and people think that that's not any big deal, but it actually is, because it's causing a back pressure on the motor, so it's potentially doing damage to the motor.
Yeah, when you get this pinched up from landing on it.
Pinched. Yeah. The other thing about these mufflers is if you start squishing them and damaging them, it's the same kind of effect. There's a lot of baffling in here, so if you do that damage to it, it could potentially start causing motor issues, because once again, exhaust, air, everything is a fluid dynamic, and it'll start causing back pressure. So next what we're going to do is bring a Jeep on here that has the Metalcloak skid plate system with the Magnaflow Crawler system on it, just to kind of show you the differences and show you really what it all protects, and on the exhaust how it gets it up and out of the way.
Oh! Yeah. Look at that! What coating is on these, first of all?
Zinc.
Zinc? Okay, yes. Okay, cool.
So as you've seen on the other one, it was quite open. Jeeps come with a very limited amount of skid plating. So if you're gonna off-road, take it off and get on rocks, mud, anything, you need some extra protection under here to protect from damage to your oil pan, to other really important elements of the vehicle. As you can see on this Metalcloak skid plate system is one of our favorites because it's seamless and it all works together. The bolts are protected to let things just slide right over them. It overly protects the transfer case, which is a very important part of the Jeep, of course. On stock skid plates, you'll see there's a really thin skid plate that goes across here. On the Metalcloak, once again, it's seamless and it keeps it up out of the way. And then we also have our protection of the transmission and the oil pan. And one thing that we've never been able to figure out about Jeeps, why they leave the oil pan unprotected, it's very, very exposed when you're going over rocks. So the Metalcloak has a really nice seamless, once again, skid plate that covers everything and makes sure that everything is protected. The other nice part is it has easy access to the drain plug. Very simple to do oil changes, where other skid plate systems we've seen you have to remove things, move things, or let it drain down the skid plate.
Now this dude is stout. Like, look at the thickness on this dude, and it's not going anywhere. So another thing we did here, because we've worked on this Jeep before. This is
Yes, this is the supercharged JL that we did.
Yeah.
It has a Metalcloak True Dual Rate on it. We've done the correction pads on the springs up front.
Okay.
It also has the Rock Sport shocks on it. It scored really well on the CTI ramp that Metalcloak brought. It's a really great suspension system. We did a full Metalcloak body armor kit on it. But one of the other things we just did on this last visit is we put a Magnaflow Crawler exhaust on it. This exhaust sounds really good on these V6s. It doesn't sound like a rice burner per se. It has a nice rumble to it. It also tucks everything up out of the way. Like on the back here, it keeps the exhaust all out of the best you can, keeping it out of the path of damage.
Yeah, I gotcha. So like when you come down off a ledge, it's not gonna come up here and just smash whatever muffler exhaust tips here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I haven't seen a factory like bolt-on exhaust to do that yet.
Yeah, no. Your muffler goes back here on the factories. It's a really great system. It keeps everything out of the way. And a lot of this it's all integrated into each other. This customer's not a hardcore wheeler. She just wanted to make sure it was built the right way so she wouldn't have issues on the trails that she likes to do.
Yeah, and if it looks like if you install this system on something you are going to take off-road, I mean, you're going to hit your frame before you hit this exhaust. So
pretty close, yes.
Yeah, this is nice. So back to the skid plate, can you buy this individually, like each piece, or does it come as a whole kit?
It comes as a whole kit.
Okay, so you can't...
You can buy the front section.
Okay.
You can buy, I believe, the center section, but the fuel section, you need these to enter.
Oh, because they're going to bolt together.
Yeah,
gotcha.
integrate together.
Yeah, so it's best to do it all at once.
And that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
The thing is if you just piece it together and you get a rock into some, it can damage one of the components this has to bolt to. And could definitely make the install harder and more time consuming. Gotcha. So I always tell everybody, it's just best if you're going to skid plate it, it's skid plate the whole thing. That way it's all integrated, easy to work on, and we're protecting things before you damage. If you're looking for some skid plate systems and something to help protect your JLUs or your JKUs, come up here and see us at Offroad Diction.